Hey everybody, and welcome to Module 5, Day 2, Who Are You? Now, one of the biggest issues people have when they start turning from passive to active and start taking an active role in their marketplace is they're really concerned about, well, who should they be? Should I have a pseudonym? Should I, how do I get started? Should I use my own voice? Should I pretend to be something that I'm not? I'm just new into this. How do I do it? And today we're going to tackle all of those things. Rule number one in this, and this is the most crucial thing that I can possibly get across, is rule number 1 through 30 is please be yourself. Don't try to be anybody. We've all got heroes and people who are just so clever and, just everything that seems to come out of their mouths is brilliant and all those sorts of things, We always, we know, everybody knows people like that. And if you try to be that person, you are setting yourself up to fail. You just need to be you. When we start going into market leadership, we just be our own voice, be our own, with our own foibles, with our own accents, with everything. It's absolutely vital that you do not pretend to be something that you're not, because, apart from any ethical issues, the far more crucial thing, it just shows up. Just be yourself, be your enthusiastic self, and 90% of the issues that I'm about to talk about will never, ever, ever be one for you. Because when you start out with market leadership, you'll suck. There's no question about it. You'll suck. Now, we're going to make it as easy as possible for you, but you'll suck. Because everybody sucks. Every single person, Stephen King did not start out making brilliant novels. His first novels sucked. Mozart, even though he wrote his first symphony at 6, bluntly, they sucked until he got to about symphony number 30 before he even started to crack into his stride. Pablo Picasso's first paintings were actually not bad, but they sucked compared to where he got to. Everybody sucked. You're just starting. So give yourself permission to be crud, okay? Because while you're warming up, let's face it, you haven't got much of a marketplace at the moment anyway, or much of a following. So use the time productively to suck. And you'll be much better off. Now, I hear this all the time, but I have an accent. I'm ugly. I don't know anything. Well, let's tackle these couple of issues, because these are classics. First of all, you have an accent. A good 50% of people doing the challenge are outside of the United States. Now, in the old days, we used to say, you've really got to target the United States market because, that's where the people who are spending money online are. That's, of course, it's, in 2010, 2011, that's just not the case. Most countries in the world spend a lot of money online. So, first of all, seriously consider wherever your language, whatever your, first language is, seriously consider, you have a huge advantage if you can understand me, speaking of accents, and translate that into your own marketplaces. Boy, have you got a huge advantage. But if you have an accent, just as I do incredibly well in the American market, and I have a very broad Australian accent. People love accents. They're interesting. They're different. And if you think about radio ads that you used to hear, although I won't be able to use this analogy much longer, but think about, the radio ads that stay with you are the people who have unusual accents, not the ones that just drown into the background. And, whatever your accent is, you've got it. Stick with it. It doesn't matter. For goodness sake, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He could barely speak English when he arrived. In first movies, you'd argue that he barely spoke English. He's now governor of California, for example, and he still has a thick accent. Everybody has accents. Get over it. Now, the ugly one is a big deal, particularly for women, and it's society's fault, and I'm not here to rage against the machine or, blame anything on anybody, but all I can tell you is people who are leaders in their field ultimately are there for their ideas. This is not Hollywood. We're not here for, Miss USA or Miss Universe or whatever it happens to be. You are because of your enthusiasm for your market. And this is no beauty contest, obviously. You know, if ugly was a problem with the challenge, we'd be in deep, deep issues. Boy, would we. So, you just please get over it. It doesn't matter. Looks don't matter. Yes, I know we are conditioned to worry about looks on commercial television and all these sorts of things, but they're entertainment. This is information, and at the end of the day, the person with the information is the person the market is interested in, not looks, not the other way around. Don't know anything. That's true. You've probably only been doing this for a few weeks. You've been fueling up for a while now, but, you don't, in theory, you don't know anything. True. So don't pretend to know stuff. Be enthusiastic. Be a learner. Try to help. I mentioned yesterday about how I was on the kiteboarding forums and had no clue what anything was going on, except somebody asked about, Port Douglas and places to stay and so on. And I was able to help out because I knew something. I could have easily jumped on TripAdvisor and dug up some research. Try to help people. Be a servant in the marketplace. But don't pretend to be stuff that you're not. And of course, baby steps. Little tiny steps. I'm going to demonstrate my favourite baby step, the first little tiny dip into the water of market leadership. During this week, we are going to find your medium. So don't worry about that. We are going to find whichever way is the most comfortable for you. Okay, so don't panic about that. There are many, many things. Podcasts, audio, presentations, videos, audios, images, any of those things could possibly be your medium. It's absolutely, you've got blogs, you've got Twitter, you've got anything can be your medium. There's a medium for you, and we'll be going through that this week. Now, of course, all of these people, they barely need any introduction. Stephanie, Paul, Gordon Sumner, Reginald Dwight, Alicia Beth Moore. Now, of course, we're talking about Lady Gaga, Bono, Sting, Elton John, and Pink. And it's absolutely crucial that you guys understand that personas using pseudonyms is an absolutely standard thing to do. In fact, in the movie industry, it's absolutely required. You have to register your name with the Actors Guild. There can't be two actors with the same name because it's your brand. So most actors do not use their real names purely for branding purposes. And this is the same with you guys as well. There is absolutely nothing wrong with using your name or indeed using a pseudonym. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of cases. I think people have a problem with it because they think that you're trying to be sneaky. And of course, authors and actors and musicians have done this since year dot. There is, however, one crucial thing. Never, ever, ever pretend to be an expert, okay? Never, ever pretend to be an expert. Be an enthusiast. Just be somebody who is enthusiastic about the niche and be interested. Never claim to do something you're not. When you're asked something and you don't know the answer, then the smartest person in the room always answers, I don't know, I'll find out for you. And that is crucial when you're looking at this stuff. Now let's do something that's super cool that I've never been able to show you before, and let me show you live on my iPhone how I do market leadership, our first baby steps into market leadership. This is literally live and in real time. So I am going to go and have a look at that. And Barry Hall is free to play. Dodged that. That's fantastic. It wasn't a hit. It was a love tap. So anyway, we will screw this out and let's have a look at this. Okay, look at this. There's a complete 4.1 walkthrough here on 9 to 5 Mac. I think, oh, that's interesting. My market might be interested in that. So I might go and have a look at this particular article. So that'll load up. In fact, what I probably would have done is looked at this through Instapaper, but I thought, oh, yeah, that looks interesting. So I'm looking at this through my iPhone. And there's a walkthrough, and my market will be interested in that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the Twitter button here, put the title, use that person's title, and then I'm going to add a link, and you can see on Reader on my iPhone, it does this automatically. And then I'm just going to add a little comment. You ready for it? It's profound. There we go. This is cool. Yes, it's profound. Check that out. I have just made my first step in market leadership. I know, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? And if we go to Twitter here, we'll go up to my... There we are. Look at that. This is cool. Just by making a little editorial comment on my Twitter there, rather than just retweeting, but making a little editorial comment, I have just made my first tiny little step into market leadership. And that's what I want you guys to do today, okay? I want you to take your first little editorial step into market leadership by just tweeting a comment. And you can do that, of course, as I showed you last week, inside Google Reader. If you've got an iPhone like I have, well, then you can do it on your iPhone, do it on your smartphone, do it wherever. But make your first little editorial comment to a retweet, and you've made your first tiny step into becoming a market leader. It's very exciting. All right, with that, we will see you soon. See you tomorrow. Got some awesome stuff ready for you. Speak soon.